As previously mentioned, one of the authentic assessments is through observation. So this afternoon or this day, we are going to go through how are we going to observe young children. So why do we observe? Okay, so when we are going to observe, we are going to watch children with a clear goal of studying a specific behavior or abilities. When we are going to watch somebody else, we are going to observe what are they doing, what is their behavior, how are they going to cope with other children, or how are they going to adjust. And also, based on that observation, we are going to develop realistic curriculum and goals. So that's why there are schools which are intended for special children or children with special abilities. And also, that is in order to challenge and support the children, these children with special abilities. So, again, we need to observe because we want to study a specific behavior of a child or a group of children so that we can develop realistic curriculum goals in order to challenge and support them. So, how do we do observations? It is best to observe from a distance, of course. You don't have to let the child know that they are being observed because uh, it would feel awkward. So they would be thinking that somebody is watching them, so they could not be themselves because they felt that they may be graded, or yeah, sometimes we have to behave according to what is expected of us. So that's why when we do observation of children, we do not have to inform them that we are observing them. Okay, so in other words, you are a non-participant observer. But if you are going to become a teacher, you do not have to inform them that today I'm going to do observations. I'll be observing you one by one. So you do not have to do that. That's why you let them play. Okay, so you let them go to the playground, you let them play. And from that moment when they are going to play, you are going to observe that some children could not really uh, behave together with other children. So some do not want to play, some are timid, some are shy, or some get uh, in trouble right away because he would not share the toys like that. So uh, it is the best time for the children uh, to observe them during play. So, if you're also handling adults, the best time to observe how they behave is when you let them do group activities. You group them because some others would say that I do not want to be in a group. I want to do it alone. So, you can observe that this person or this certain student is aloof, or somewhat he is not or she is not associated well with others, maybe because she's the only child and nobody, she does not have a playmate at home. So you can make that as an observation, but when you observe, you have to avoid making assumptions. Okay, so do not make any assumptions when you observe. So if we are going to look at these two statements, Annie has difficulty sharing and Annie never shares. So which statement is correct? Correct. What do you think? Okay, so the correct statement is Annie has difficulty sharing. Because when you are going to say Annie never shares, you're already making an assumption that Annie never shares. But if you are stating this, Annie has difficulty sharing, so that means to say that Annie can share, but she has a difficulty of sharing. So that difficulty of sharing might be corrected in the future when you are going to let Annie do something, or let Annie observe that sharing is not difficult. Okay, it's somewhat it's joyful when you are going to share. Also, when you are going to observe, you have to avoid labeling. Okay, so you have to avoid labels. Do not label na you are really like that. So it's the labeling or the branding can do something to the child. So you are going to let's say you may be putting some negative on his mind that he is like that. So in this case, so which one is correct? Tommy often acts out his aggressive feelings, or Tommy is mean. Okay, so the correct statement here is Tommy often acts out his aggressive feelings. Okay, so often, so Tommy is a bit aggressive, but when you are going to say that Tommy is mean, so you are already labeling Tommy as a mean person or as a mean child. So you do not have to do that. So it is very important that you know how to write these observations, because when you are going to become a preschool teacher, you are not going to grade them by means of numbers, but you are going to grade them by letters, and you are going to write narratives. It is very important that you know how to write narratives. So the first one is you avoid assumptions, and second one is avoid labeling the children. And of course, you have to avoid also conclusions that you are not qualified to make. So in this case, if you look at the two statements, Billy can't do anything but by himself because he is the youngest in a large family and they do everything for him. Then this one, the second statement is Billy needs to develop the ability to do things for himself. So for sure, this first statement that Billy can't do anything is already a conclusion. You're concluding that since he is the youngest in a big family or in a large family, so everybody in the family would do everything for him, leaving him uh leaving him just a recipient of everything, and he's not doing anything. So that this is already a sweeping conclusion, because not everyone that is the youngest in the family that he is adored, or yeah. So the correct one is Billy needs to develop the ability to do things for himself. Okay, this is a good narrative. So you are going to present this to the parent of the child. So the parent is going to be happy because somewhat he needs to develop that ability to do things for himself. So they have to let him do things on his own. Okay, so I have encountered this incident a long time ago when I was still a teacher in the elementary. So there was one colleague of mine that uh, concludes that a certain child is very dependent, but the parent somewhat contested that observation because he said you do not know her in the family. She is very independent. She's doing her own homework. She's doing uh preparing her food and go to school, so like that. So there was some misunderstanding between the colleague of mine and the parents. So this is it. When you are going to make narrative, you have to avoid giving conclusions that you are not qualified to make. So why not? Why is it that she's not qualified to make that conclusion? Because she's only observing the child in school for a few hours, but the parents who are there observing the child 24 hours in a day, 24/7, They knew better than the teacher. Also, do not compare children when you are going to observe because they develop at different rates. Okay, so when you are going to compare, also that means you are also putting some label on the other. Okay, so here, which statement is correct? So Tommy must be backward. He does not ride his bike as the other children. And Tommy falls off his bike a lot. So the first statement is incorrect. Because you are also comparing Tommy to the other children and you're saying that he is backward, must be backward because he does not ride his bike as well as the other children because of course we ride different. I mean, when comparing to riding a bike, it is um difficult to compare because some others are very good at that. Maybe and Tammy also is just no starting to ride a bike, so it is wrong to compare one's ability to the other. So do not compare children when you are going to observe. And when you are going to observe, you have to remember that you have to be objective. So you have to make objective observations by simply stating the facts. It is important but difficult to remain objective at all times. Yeah, it is true that sometimes our own feelings is going to intervene some of our observations, but as much as possible, you have to be objective. And the first thing to record when observing is an objective list of behavior patterns. So you have to create a checklist of observations when you are going to do observation. And of course, since you are going to be objective, you do not have to be subjective too. Okay, so subjective observations state an opinion of the observer. So you do not have to state your own opinion, but you're simply stating the facts. And when you're going to state the facts, it must be solid facts. Okay, so the next slide is the activity, second activity. So I have not heard yet of you submitting your activities. So please submit in the first activity I gave you, although the deadline is, maybe I have not set the deadline yet. So for this one, you have to answer this one whether which of this statement is subjective or objective, and you have to justify your answer. So that's why it is number right times 5, and you have to email it to me. Okay,